Welcome into another episode of BOA Banter, Battle of Alberta Banter, Free Agency Edition. We were doing this podcast during the playoffs when the Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames were facing off. We got the host, I'm Impartial, I'm Cam Lewis. We got Printzy from Flames Nation, and we got Wanye from Oilers Nation, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, Edmonton Oilers and Calgary Flames. But the big topic today is the fact that Johnny Gaudreau left Calgary to sign in a place that nobody expected. Johnny goes ahead and inks a 7-year deal worth $9.75 million annually to play for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Far and away their biggest free agent signing in franchise history. They're usually the team that's losing guys in free agency. Printzy, tell me where you were and what was going through your head when you found out that one of the best players in Flames history is now a Blue Jacket.
Oh, boys, shockingly, I'm very happy to be back on BOA Banter. I enjoyed the shit out of this when we did it in the playoffs. I just don't like the circumstance that we're doing it for, but I'm happy to be back here. Oh man, what was it? That was Wednesday. What were we on? So Tuesday, I was at development camp for the Flames on Tuesday, and we all thought it was going to happen on Tuesday, right? That was their window. They had until Tuesday at 10 o'clock at night to get him on the 8-year deal or whatever it was. So we're all kind of holding our breath, sitting there waiting with all the other media guys. Shout out to my guy with Sportsnet, Ryan Leslie. He was definitely playing a little guilty. He said he was at Stampede the night before, so he was playing a little guilty there. You could smell the booze on him a little bit there. But Wednesday, nothing really had happened because it was later in the day, right? Like I was expecting it to happen because he had announced, what was it, Tuesday night? He announced, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
So we all knew that. We had the press conference with Brad Treliving, who, if you watch the press conference or any clips of it, like he looked like he was about to cry. He sounded like he was about to cry, and I don't blame him because, if I had to record a podcast, I probably would have cried too. But Wednesday, we're waiting. Nothing happened. And sure enough, life goes on, right? If it hasn't happened by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, things happen. As everybody who follows along with myself or Flames Nation, whatever, they know that I'm a member of the Missing Curfew podcast. And I was actually on the show, recording the show with Shane O'Brien and Scotty Upshaw. And we had a guest, David Pagnotta from the Fourth Period. He was on our show, and the news broke as we were recording. So he had stopped the show, put us, didn't say anything, put us on mute, and picked up his phone. And you could tell on his face, so we're all like, what the fuck's going on? What's going on? We pull up Twitter, and it's Columbus fucking Blue Jackets, man. Like, what the hell? So he comes back on the show. He's at a complete loss for words, saying stuff like the Islanders had him. I've got people on the inside saying the Islanders are just livid right now. It took a whole day for it to settle in and register to me that it was the Columbus fucking Blue Jackets, man.
Wanye, what do you think? Where were you when you saw this? Did you think Johnny was going to re-sign in Calgary at all, or did you think it was a foregone conclusion that he was?
Of course, I thought he was going to re-sign in Calgary.
Really?
It's a Western. You've got your black hats and you've got your good guys. The good guys are us. The bad guys are Printzy and Johnny Gaudreau. I assume they stick together because, they stick together, these types. Never in a million years, I think he would leave. Never in a trillion years. Although Columbus, I don't know why it takes so much shit from people. It's actually a very nice city.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I've been to Columbus. It's very nice. I like it there. But I never thought he would go there. To me, that was just sort of like, a bunch of things lined up where he ticked all the boxes of being in the East, right? I think that people are underestimating the difficulty his family would have had coming to visit him in Canada all the time, particularly in a bubble, right? And so many of us, I think normal people are looking at our lives differently this in 2022, saying, what do I need to do to make myself happy? And for him to say, I want to be on the Eastern Seaboard, right? I want to be in a market where me going to the gas station isn't news, right? Columbus, by redaction, became where he went. And they were able to pay him what he wanted, right?
There was talk for so long. He was, he's from New Jersey. He's a Flyers fan growing up. There was all these teams in the mix. But when you kind of look at it, you're like, man, the Flyers look like a mess. And apparently they didn't even offer him a deal because their cap situation's bad. The Devils suck too. Like they had a bunch of cap space, but where's that franchise going? Then the Islanders were in the mix, New York. And again, that's a team that has such a tight cap situation. So like when you add it all up, like all the
Columbus is
destinations.
fun, right? Columbus doesn't have crushing expectations. Like if you go to Philly or you go to, even Jersey's so terrible that he's going to be like a savior when he gets there, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Columbus, they're just kind of like, shoot the cannon off. Huzzah.
They're so happy to have him too.
Yeah. No, I mean,
this is a guy doesn't want a stressful life, and who can begrudge him that?
Yeah, no, I don't blame him at all, too. I mean, if for some reason Philly ended up getting him, which obviously it sounds like they weren't even close.
No.
I think they might have been a better team with him. Like the thing that might have changed the direction. You got a new coach in there, Tortorella. Who knows how he would have ended up with Torts. He's got his buddy Kevin Hayes in there, Sean Couturier. They got a young defense. They got a young goalie, that kind of stuff. So I thought Philly might have been a better fit for him, but obviously they're too dumb and didn't make it happen. So getting Rasmus Ristolainen on that giant deal, like what was that? And you kind of realized that as soon as they got Tony DeAngelo, it was kind of out. I was having my fingers crossed that it was going to be the Devils because they're not a good team, but Columbus is an okay team in my opinion. They're not an elite team. He's got Laine, and then you go what? They got Laine, Werenski, and then what?
Jack Roslovich,
okay, cool.
Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Yeah, cool. And like
Rick Nash is still playing there, I think.
Wicked.
So, yeah, I guess so, man. So it's still so fresh. Things are gonna pop out. More information is going to be coming out as to why he chose Columbus. Right now, it just sounds like it was a good fit. And you read stuff too, and the NHL guys, they're the guys that should probably be dictating where the family goes, but there's still a family factor into it. And to my knowledge, from what I heard, that his wife is a pediatrics nurse, and apparently Columbus has one of the top hospitals for that division in the country. And at the end of the day, these guys are still human beings, right? And if there wasn't a good fit for his wife in Calgary, and I don't want to say that because my wife is a nurse and she works in Calgary and it's a very good hospital, but that's maybe that was a factor. Who knows, man? We'll find out when more stuff comes out.
Yeah,
the other thing to remember too is that he played for the absolute worst team to play for in the NHL, in the absolute shittiest city in the NHL, right? And like, if you're Johnny Gaudreau playing for the Flames and literally anybody wants to pay you to leave, it'd have to be a very tempting proposition because it does not get worse than Calgary, which is number one on Wanye's list of shitholes in Southern Alberta. Number one on the list.
And that's Southern Alberta. What are you comparing?
Damn right.
To Brooks, Alberta? Or like,
yeah, exactly. Airdrie, you're number two, you bitch.
And that's pretty much what Johnny said when he was introduced as a member of the Blue Jackets on Thursday. He has his introductory press conference. He puts on his new jersey, number 13, and they're chatting with him, and he said, "I wanted to come here. This was always a place I had circled on my list. I had always dreamed about playing a tad closer to home. It didn't matter where I was signing. We just decided it was best not to go back to Calgary." I think we can all kind of say,
being very honest here, right?
Yeah,
most players are going to make up some bullshit and be like, I used to dream of times like this, and then make up some tangential reason why they want to be a bloody Florida Panther. I think he's explaining the redactive process here of I want to be in the East.
Well, what do you think, Printzy? Like, did a lot of Flames fans were pretty off put by that comment? They kind of viewed it as an insult. They viewed Johnny saying not so much, okay, like I think people from Calgary aren't necessarily seeing I want to go home, and instead they're seeing I do not want to be in Calgary.
Yeah, that's the one comment that's kind of set everybody off in Calgary. I mean, everyone's pretty pissed off to begin with. And I think people kind of started to settle down a bit until they heard that comment, because and I will say this, I've heard, as being somebody in Calgary, you've heard him speak to the media, and I've heard him on podcasts and stuff like that too. He's not the greatest speaker in the world. At the end of the day, he's a hockey player. He's not a salesman, right? Like, he's not a good speaker. He's not going to sell you on anything like that. So the press conference wasn't that great. One thing I will say too is, listening to that press conference, he didn't say much about Columbus. He didn't know much about Columbus when they asked him about that.
He's there to win hockey games, apparently, not look at the games. That's what he said.
That's weird. So it's weird to hear that, because it went down to the wire, right? It took them that long to decide. Calgary was still in on this kind of stuff. You got our guy Frank saying that down to the last minute, that Frank was even saying, yeah, Calgary is still in on this. And Calgary, the reported deal of what it was, 80 million over 8 years or whatever. So 10 or 10 and a half or whatever it was. So it's very strange to hear that. I almost feel for Brad Treliving a little bit. On the one side, I will say I wish that Brad would have got this done last year. That's my knock on Brad Treliving. Say you should have Should have got it done last year and we don't have to deal with this bullshit. But at the same time, you can't just rag on the GM with what came out, with what was offered. He did everything in his power to try to keep him there. So I don't know why people are ragging on him saying fire him now. You can tell that he tried to get him there. It's just so weird that he came out and said, well, we were never going to come back to Calgary. Then fucking say that. Then go say that. Like, if you have any respect for the organization, go to them before the draft and say, I'm not coming back.
And you can
He's
trade his
a
rights,
little
right?
bitch.
I know,
He's
like
a little bitch boy on a team of bitch boys. He doesn't
like-
have the sack to tell his boss the truth. He's the kind of guy to just let it fester and then dip.
But he could have, like, you wouldn't have gotten much for his rights, right? Like,
Well, even just a third round or a second round.
Yeah,
pick,
but
He wouldn't have
especially-
got, I suppose yeah.
you might have got a second or a third, which is better because we only had 3 fucking draft picks.
He's a man of taste. He would have re-signed, then been traded.
The Oilers gave away a draft pick to acquire the UFA rights to Nikita Nikitin once upon a time. I'm sure that Johnny Gaudreau's the ability to sign him for 8 years could have landed the Flames a second round pick, which would have been nice to have in this year's draft because they had
How
no
did you
pick.
say his name? How did you say his name?
Nikita Nikitin.
Wasn't it Nikita Nikkinen?
Ah.
Green jacket, gold jacket, piece of shit.
Does it matter? Here's how I feel about the entire situation. I feel as though, as a fan of the Oilers, I don't know if you're like a fan of history. It hasn't been going like awesome for the last, 20 odd years until late.
Really?
I kind of feel like I've had my head held underwater in a public school toilet since about 2007. And like the fans of every single team in the world just come by a couple of times a year to dunk on us and fuck off. And we have so much momentum now. The fact that we're on an upward trajectory and we meet in the BOA and you're headed straight to the bottom of the goddamn league floor and we're just dancing on the way to the moon. We actually got better this offseason somehow. I believe the Oilers now are a better team than when they lost in the conference finals a few short weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
My only rebuttal to that is, and I think you Oiler fans are way too quick to be like, oh yeah, you guys are headed straight down there. You are fair to say that if Matthew Tkachuk, when it comes out it has to be done by July 22nd. If July 22nd it comes out and says Matthew Tkachuk has accepted his qualifying offer for 1 year, okay, you can say that. Now, if it comes out before then or whenever, Matthew Tkachuk has signed an 8-year, 10 whatever deal. How are we headed to the bottom then?
I think if Matthew Tkachuk isn't going to stay with the Flames long term, he's going to do them the honor of at least signing him long term.
Yes.
And I don't think he's going to play his hand. I don't think he's like Johnny apparently wants to fucking torpedo the team. I don't think Tkachuk is like that. I think, in fact, when you look at how his brother behaves in Ottawa, a team that was, got a lot to hate on if you're a kind of a pussy player, right? And instead, he's like stepped up and become the franchise's like credibility. And I could see Matthew saying, yeah, you know what? Thanks for your service. I'm now in charge. I'm not going anywhere. And here's my proof.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed. Yeah.
As somebody who I think we all enjoyed this year, both the Flames and the Oilers were good. That never happens. And I think we want, as much as we don't like, well, I'm not going to say we because I'm the impartial host, but as much as Oilers fans don't like the Flames, and as funny as it is,
the Flames.
Yeah.
I don't like the city of Calgary. I don't like 20 minutes in either direction of Calgary.
And it's as much as you root against them, and it's kind of funny to see, they've teased forever about McDavid's going to leave and then their guy goes and leaves. We want to see a good Battle of Alberta, and I think Tkachuk sticking around and then the Flames using their extra cap space, the Gaudreau cap space, to acquire somebody else, say Nazem Kadri, for example, is probably the best name out there left. Then they're a pretty good team next year. The Flames were the second best team by record in the Western Conference last year. You lose a really good player, but you replace him with somebody else, you can still be fine, right?
Right.
Printzy, do you think the Flames can still be a good team next year? Like, what do they have to do?
It's just what I said. Whatever happens with Tkachuk, you're going one of two ways. You're heading, right back to not necessarily back to that, second place in the West, because we got to take into consideration that, well, fuck, I don't know, after trading Pacioretty, what the Golden Knights are going to do. We'll get into that later. LA is going to be a better team this year. They made some good additions, and Vancouver's probably going to be better too. So you got to compete. So if they are, and what I'll say about Matthew Tkachuk too is there's a bit of a different feel. Both guys were asked as soon as his fucking Oilers bounced us or whatever. They were both asked at the press conference about coming back, and Johnny gave the political answer of, yeah, I got to sit down and talk to my agent. I really like to hear blah, blah, blah. We'll
He's
see
a
what happens.
liar. He's
Exactly.
lying.
He fucking lied right to us. Now, Tkachuk and my boy Pat Steinberg played this on the radio yesterday. They replayed the interview with Tkachuk when he was asked, would you consider a long-term deal? Like I said, Gaudreau's was very straight, very monotone. Tkachuk's answer was very, very upbeat. He said the city of Calgary is great. He said my family, I got some ties to Winnipeg from my dad playing for the Jets, but he's like, I didn't know anything past Winnipeg. I came to Calgary, and he's like, I absolutely fell in love with it. The fans are amazing. The city is great. He said all these good things, and at the end of it, he said, yes, I would absolutely entertain the idea of signing a long-term deal. Where Gaudreau didn't say that. He has the opportunity right now to do the complete opposite of what Johnny's doing. Right now, Johnny is public enemy number 1 in the city of Calgary right now. People absolutely hate him.
He's going to get booed, right?
Oh, he's going to get
Tavares
the Tavares. He's going to get Danny Heatley back to Ottawa in 07 or whatever.
Conquered Edmonton?
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. And he has the opportunity to do the complete opposite. And that is come in and pick up the ball and say, this is my team now. I'm not going to turn my back on the fan base. Give me the C. This is my team now. And I will show you guys. I will be here. I will continue to battle with those a-holes up north. We're going to do this, right? So he has the opportunity to do this. It just has to be the right fit, right? And you lost Johnny, so you're right. You have to bring in somebody to replace him. You're never going to replace him individually.
No.
This is absolutely, you're not going to find one player that's going to come in there. You maybe it's Kadri, who knows? But it's just, if they're able to retain Tkachuk, get Mangiapane, get Shillington, all this stuff, they're going to be okay. If for whatever reason Tkachuk does the qualifying offer, oh man, then it's going to be some dark days ahead for the Flames.
This is just great. This is just great. The problem is Matthew Tkachuk is not a gutless piece of shit, right? Whereas Johnny, you get what you pay for. I don't think that Tkachuk would bounce on Calgary, honestly. As much as it would be their smart play to get as far away from that claptrap arena as he could, I don't see it happening. And you know what? Take a page out of our playbook. Here's what you do when a key part of your team spits in your face and leaves. The next person you see, whether they should make 800 grand or 12 million, just sign them to all the remaining cap space you have and go long term. It doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter what position they play. You just want to fill that gap quick and say to the fans, hey man, we overpaid Sean Horkoff because all the Oilers in the late 90s told us to fuck off, right? That's how you do it.
Yeah. Well, the Flames do have
Sean Horkoff.
Yeah. Oh, fucking Horkoff. The Flames do have Elias Lindholm left with 2 years. So you're thinking that you want to get through this year and you want to avoid what happened this summer. You want to get him done with a year left. You don't want to deal with this bullshit. That was not a fun offseason for Flames Nation, man. First, we get fucking bounced by the Oilers, and then we gotta deal with this shit. Like, yeah, like putting that debates out there every week for 6 weeks. It was not fun, man. We want to focus on the good things that are gonna be happening, and we'll know that in a week here.
Now, speaking of good things, the Oilers have pretty much brought the band back from the team that reached the conference finals, albeit they got spanked pretty hard by Colorado in the conference finals, but they've brought the group back. And the one area where they seem to have made an upgrade, and I mean, the jury's a little bit out because he hasn't been a starting goalie forever, but he's not Mike Smith, who's an enigma. And I love Mike Smith, but he's an enigma. The Oilers have upgraded their goaltending with Jack Campbell. Do we now feel better about the Oilers than we did a month ago?
Yes, I think so. I think that Jack Campbell is going to provide not A+ level goaltending, but good enough goaltending. When you look at what Colorado was able to do, winning the cup with goaltending that was right, like it just needs to be like not a statistical anomaly of how many first shots we let in every fucking year, right? As long as he can save 9 out of 10 first shots on net, he's going to look like Vezina come back to life, for heaven's sakes. I think the Oilers are much better than they were at the end of the season.
Printzy, what do you think?
Sorry, boys. This is BOA Banter, and I completely did not pay attention there because my co-host, which I know you guys absolutely love him, Noah Adler, just
what the hell does he want?
He just texted me saying Klingberg's looking at the Flames, and I'm like, fuck off. No, I'm like, no, he's not. And now I'm looking it up on Twitter, and this is a very legitimate rumor right now. That people
no,
are
it isn't, Noah.
I know that's exactly. I disregarded it immediately. But then
Disregard.
I was like, yeah, whatever. No, and yeah, there's some legitimacy rumors.
Who's saying it?
Let's see
Noah
here.
Adler of Flames Nation.
Daily Dallas Hockey,
Insider.
which he is, and now people are looking at Klingberg's Instagram, and he's gone and followed all of the tweets on the Flames, which he did not do this morning.
Well, that's an interesting.
Oh, what the hell?
Is that a good fit? Do they need to bolster the blue line?
If the money's right, then it probably is, because they don't really have a great offensive defenseman, and Tanev, who knows how long he's out, but I wouldn't be jumping on that one immediately. I will flip back, because I know you guys were talking about the Oilers and whatnot. I think that Campbell is 100% an upgrade over Smitty, and I would assume that you're going to go Campbell and Stuart Skinner. You got Calvin Pickard too, I guess. So that's
going to be 50-30 Campbell Skinner. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I don't fully know the injury history on Campbell. I think it's pretty regular. Like he's not
a variety of stuff.
He's not like a Matt Murray, but he's definitely, you definitely don't want to ride him as hard as the Flames did with Markstrom and stuff like that. My only knock is I think he's a good up and coming goalie. He's been around the league. He's been around the league for a long time. Like drafted with Dallas.
He's earned his way into
2010.
Game,
yeah,
right?
it takes a long
very
time.
hard road to get here.
Yeah. My only thing is, what the fuck did he do with the Leafs? That's my thing. What did he do with the Leafs? So, but you're on a different team, a different setting.
Didn't he go to the All-Star game?
I
might have.
I think he did.
He had some really good performances with the Leafs, but his kind of issue was...
He went to the All-Star game like last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a really good run, a really good start to the Canadian division season, I think. That's what it was.
No, to answer your question, Printzy, what did he do in Toronto? He was a fucking all-star. That's what he did in Toronto. Good God. What did he do in Toronto?
Take pictures with his cats? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, hey?
Yeah.
I was pretty excited when I saw them cat photos. That's the kind of goalie
Campbell was at his best when he wasn't playing too much. So the Oilers kind of have to hope that what we saw from Stuart Skinner in the 13 games he played last year is accurate. And he's a good NHL 1B backup goalie, and they can go 50-30 rather than Campbell playing like 65 games.
The thing you need to remember about Skinner is that he has a mustache, and that means that he has giant cojones, and that'll get him into 25 just on the balls it takes to rock that stash with a straight face.
I did see Stuart Skinner up in the press box when I got kicked out by Bob Stauffer in the playoffs there. He kind of walked by me and gave me an up and down, and he had a nice mustache on that guy.
A nice duster.
Yeah.
Now, here's the next question. So since we know the Flames are imploding and they're probably going to finish dead last in the league next year, there's going to be there's going to be a new Pacific Division champion in the regular season. And are the Oilers going to be that team? Are they the team to beat in the Pacific now?
Yes, you bitches.
I think they're the front runners, but I think the Pacific, like we kind of mentioned before, we both hate them. Vancouver's going to be better. The Kings are going to be better. Vegas I
don't know about that one. Vegas is weird.
But Vegas is so weird. I don't understand that one. And again, you don't know what Calgary is right now. You don't want to worry about the Kraken and whatever.
Anaheim, San Jose, irrelevant. Seattle, they're bad.
Anaheim might be a little bit bad. Anaheim might be like the Kings where they squeak in, but they're not going to contend for the division. And we don't know what's happening with John Gibson yet either, because he wants out and nobody's done anything with him yet. So you don't know that kind of stuff. So I would say the Oilers are the front runners for sure, but it's still like I haven't really, obviously this Johnny stuff is kind of weighed over. Like, is there still things that the Oilers have to do? Like the Flames have kind of came out in some of their interviews and stuff like that and said, Tkachuk's our priority, but we've got money to spend, so we're not done yet. Do the Oilers still have stuff to do?
It'd be nice if we got one more D man.
Right, yeah, because you lost Keith, you re-upped Kulak, but
Kulak's a third pairing D, so you don't really want. And then the whole
still down a Duncan Keith. If anyone knows where we can get a Duncan Keith,
how fucking lucky did you guys get with Duncan Keith? You guys should be eating that cap, not Chicago.
No, they should have. The Oilers should have received a bonus for him retiring, because that was the expectation when they made the trade last year. They should have received that. They didn't. That was
between
bad.
that and Mike Smith retired. Our problem.
You could have went. It could have went one way or the other. Smitty could have came back and told Ken Holland to shove it, and he could have said, "I'm not done yet," and you guys would have been fucked.
And there would have been no money.
Ken Holland has shaken off all his Oilers haters and converted them into believers.
Yeah,
you will have a hard time finding anyone chirping Ken Holland anymore.
So are we? Even before we move on so much, are we doing BOA banter full time? And when do we play each other? We play each other like three
Only
times.
Yeah, not even a full slate of
the
BOAs. We beat you
fuck?
so hard in the BOA. They took a game off the schedule and fucking Johnny Gaudreau dipped.
Isn't it all like in October and November?
It's
done
all in
by-
2022.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
Weird.
We should do a
Weird.
weekly podcast where we just analyze the 2022 Battle of Alberta weekly for the next year.
Yeah, sure.
Like there was
Yeah.
a penalty kill in game 3 I'd like to
Oh,
review
yeah.
with you, Printzy. What do you think Johnny Gaudreau was doing on this play?
Getting scared by the cannon.
I'm more than fine doing BOA banter.
I just remembered the schedule. It
Change the
just
name from
sucked.
BOA banter to like Western Conference All Stars. Then we can
Yeah.
have people on this show and interrogate them and explain to them how they suck.
It just sucks that there isn't going to be a game after Christmas time, like not even after the trade deadline when there's actually compete.
We got to cast a bigger net
Yeah.
then. It can't be BOA, bro.
Yeah, I know,
We can
yeah, well,
we can bring on Quadrelli or Faber or somebody from Canucks Army and make fun of the Canucks, or we can find somebody in Las
You
Vegas.
just
and say,
relate to how it's really
Yeah.
about the BOA.
yeah,
Because if there's one
exactly.
thing we can agree on, Princey, it's really
Mhm.
all about, for you, the Flames. For us, it's really all about the Oilers. We
yeah.
can agree it's really all about the BOA. Even if we're talking to a Capitals blogger about
Yeah.
their penalty kill, it's really
we
about
don't
the
really
BOA.
care. We don't
True.
care about that one, man. No, I was looking at the schedule. I'm planning my trips up to Edmonton. I'm like, let's go. And I see this. I'm like, oh my God, like, come on, NHL, be better than that. But it is what it is, man. We got to deal with it. We got to move on.
I have a
Cool.
legitimate question about the Calgary Flames franchise, and it's no joking at all.
Mhm.
Why
Right.
isn't Jerome McGinley in the game?
Like within the organization.
Just like
Or-
you see Mike Greer, there's a variety of Oilers
Yeah.
alumni who shun the team as they ascend to management. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering why Iginla, who to me would be an unbelievable anything, not
Yeah.
even if why isn't he with Calgary? Why isn't he active?
Well, I think he's still kind of taking the route of maybe like a St. Louis right now. So he's currently coaching, I believe, a higher up or like a prep school or something like that in Kelowna right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he was in the Boston area and he accepted a role as, there's probably prep schools in Alberta, like the Edge in
Oh.
Calgary, where he's doing that in Kelowna right now. So I think that's kind of like what St. Louis did in Montreal. He was coaching a little bit younger, so I think he might want to do that. You never know. I mean, he's we've seen him around. He was in the city a couple weeks ago for golf tournaments and stuff like that. And you got to remember, he was whenever the Flames made that stupid decision to sign Jaromir Jagr. It came down to, and Brian Burke said it, maybe on Sportsnet, he said that it came down to Jagr or Iginla, that they were going to bring back, yeah, I know, and they brought back fucking Jagr, man.
Well, Yager was in the mix with the Oilers that year too.
Yeah, he was, because he wanted to play a year in Canada.
I remember when
time.
Alex Hemsky was awesome. Yager made an offer to the Oilers that he would come play with Hemsky and
Yeah.
teach him like the Czech ways. I don't even remember what year that was.
That
We
was
were
like
like, "Fuck you, Yager! You're so old."
It
And he
was-
played for like 12 more.
That was like
years.
probably 2010.
it was right
Yeah.
before he left for the
Fuck you! You won't be
KHL.
in the game.
Yeah.
It was right
and we
before he
took-
left for the KHL. There was talk they would sign him, and then when he was in the KHL, there
Yeah.
was talk that when his KHL season finished, he would come to Edmonton.
Right.
But his KHL
So-
team went on a playoff run.
So to answer your question, I think that Iginla's, that was 4 years ago. So I don't think he's been removed from the game long enough. He's doing his stuff. His son got drafted in the WHL
Yeah, I
to the
saw
Seattle
that.
Thunderbirds. So he's kind of focused on that kind of stuff. I wouldn't be shocked if it was something that later down the line. I mean, Craig Conroy's really the only high up Flames alumni that's with the Flames. They don't traditionally do that kind of stuff. They're not the fucking old boys club like Edmonton, Kevin Lowe and McTavish and Coffee.
If
all these
I'm
Came back
Murray
to even St.
Edwards.
Louis now.
If I'm Murray Edwards, I fill the coal chute up of the underwater train and I
Yeah.
ride it back to Calgary from England and I
Yeah.
find Jerome McGinley and I sit him down and I just start
Yeah.
shoveling money at him until
Yeah.
he becomes the Magic Johnson of the franchise.
Yeah,
He doesn't
very
even need
true.
to have a real title and he can't be fired because he's
Yeah.
just sort of here,
Fucking
everybody.
Jerome McGinley,
You
man.
need a
Yeah.
distraction.
Well, the thing with the
There we
Flames,
go.
though, too, man, is you got Daryl Sutter's got one more year left on his contract. And I would definitely say that. And as much as I don't want it, I don't agree with it. But Brad Treliving is on the hot seat for sure. 100%.
I wouldn't
doesn't
replace him with Iginla at the GM level. I'd make Iginla like
No.
president of the organization.
But what a bold take from me, too, is to say that Treliving can't get Tkachuk done properly, whatever, and they scrap him. Craig Conroy's been the AGM for 8-9 years now. So
He's
instead of
next in
looking,
line.
yeah, he's probably next in line. So you got Conroy. Who's Conroy's buddy? Iginla. So you could see that kind of stuff. Obviously, I don't want that to happen. I'd rather Brad Treliving keep his job because he did the right thing and got Tkachuk and Mangiapane, but it's a reality that he could get scrapped. And, maybe it's not a bad thing that they get some new blood in here. You never know, man. I'm just trying to process this all still. It's still so fresh in my mind that I don't.
I can see your mind racing and you're looking to the horizon. You don't know which way to look. This
You
is how
should've
we felt since 2007.
Oh God.
Everything was just built of sand around us. At the end of every year, the tide would come in and all our dreams would go out to sea.
You should have seen me on the podcast when it happened. Apparently, I just looked like a ghost because I was like
Macaulay Culkin the whole time.
I just waited.
For us, it was within under a year. Chris Pronger demanded out, and then Ryan Smith got traded. So you guys might have that with Gaudreau and Tkachuk back to back. We dealt with it. It might be your turn.
Well, my thing is here, and I know we're running out of time here.
We're not running out of time.
You got how many years left in McDavid? I know you guys are on the right track. You guys are on the right track to be a winning team right now. But how many more fucking sweeps in the playoffs is it going to take for him to say, fuck this?
What the fuck are you talking about? He's went to the fucking conference finals, for fuck's sake. He's not going
got swept. He got swept. He got
by
swept
the cup-winning team.
And Winnipeg last year.
You don't need to worry about how long Connor McDavid's staying. You got bigger
I just
problems
cannot
down there.
wait.
He's staying here till the end. That's how long he's staying here.
I can tell you.
The end is 4 years.
I can tell you he won't be signing
likely-
with the Columbus Blue Jackets.